All right. So let me work through some technical issues really quickly. All right, cool. So, uh, that's what I'm saying. Perfect. All right. I think we're ready to go. Got it. All right. Good people. So, I like to start with a question. So I'm gonna ask you a question right off the bat. Have you ever felt like you've reached your limit? Like there's no more room to grow, right? What if I told you that that was, and you guys know this, completely false? It's a myth, right? We we've barely scratched our surface of our true potential, right? It's mind blowing how little we have actually accessed. So today we're going to dive into the law of expansion, right? And it's a principle that it might give you a different perspective, right? On what this growth thing really, really looks like. So we've been talking about stretching, right? And expanding. And so you're ready to be stretched, right? To grow, to realize that even where you are today, you're far more capable than you've really ever imagined. The law of expansion states that growth always increases capacity. Growth always increases capacity, right? As you grow, your capacity continues to expand, right? Now, I used to think that growth was about learning a set amount of skills or achieving a specific goal, but life definitely proved me wrong. Definitely proved me wrong. Being on this journey for as long as I have, I still growing, still learning, still being stretched, and it changes. It changed not only how I see myself, but like truly how I see the world. Right. And this is the thing about being stretched. A mind stretched by a new idea can never return to its original dimension. Right? It creates an inner dissatisfaction that an inner satisfaction with the good old days, right? What used to be, right? We're rewiring our brain. We're completely changing how we see the world, in what we see in the world. Right? It makes you hungry for more. And even when you think you've hit your capacity, you really haven't. You just haven't been exposed to the new idea or the new direction that you need to go down to continue on that growth path, right? Because capacity isn't a ceiling. Our capacity is truly infinite, right? So let's take a minute to break down a few myths about growth, right? These sneaky little beliefs that hold so many people back from expanding into their full potential, right? I call these growth killers, right? They shine a light. So let's shine a light on them, and so we can, right? really start to identify them as we come across them in our life and really be able to kick them to the curb. All right, myth number one, growth has an endpoint. Right? So many people believe that growth stop once you've reached a milestone, like finishing school, getting a big promotion, or getting that dream job, right? Or hitting a certain income level. And they think that I've made it, I've arrived. Let me take my foot off the gas, I'm done, right? But the truth is, growth doesn't have a finish line. It only stops when you stop seeking it. When you stop seeking growth, when you stop seeking new ideas, new relationships, new experiences, that's when it actually stops, right? Now think about it. Imagine a plant saying, okay, I've grown enough. Imagine a plant saying, I got it. I'm done. No more sunlight or water for me. I've had enough. Insane, right? The moment it stops growing, it starts dying. The same is true for us. The journey of growth is infinite. Every time you think you've arrived, life reveals a new layer to the onion, right? A new layer to uncover. Growth isn't about, it's not about getting to the top. It's not about getting to the top. It's about continuing to find ways to expand, continuing to find ways to grow. Myth number two, growth is supposed to be easy. Let's be honest. And I'm going to change my verbiage here because saying that it's hard gives us the lens of looking at things as if they're hard, right? Growth challenges us in different ways that we're uncomfortable with, right? It asks us to do things that we've never done before, to step into new places that feel unfamiliar. And so it's uncomfortable. And we've labeled as people, I'm really working on changing the words that I use because I'm working on shifting my perspective of things as well, right? So saying that it's hard trains my reticular activation system to say, I'm going to go through challenge here, right? And in some cases, it could keep me from taking the step because, again, the brain wants to keep you safe. So it's uncomfortable. You're going to feel something that's different, right? Most people label that uncomfortability as hard. It's just unfamiliar, right? So growth is unfamiliar, which means I can learn it, I can figure it out. But most people will say this is too hard, right? Or I'm not cut out for this. But again, I'm shifting that perspective. Right? The discomfort you feel when you're growing, right? That's the proof that you're on the right track. Right? Growth isn't about adding to your resume or skill set, but it's about becoming someone you've never been before. 1% better per day. That 1% completely changes who you are. Every day you're evolving, your skin is regenerating. You're becoming a new person. But everything you learn as you grow, you're becoming a new person. You're becoming someone that you've never been before, right? It's about transformation. And transformation requires pushing through uncomfortable things. The good news is you don't have to love the pain, but you can fall in love with the process, shifting the perspective from hard and pain to this is just part of the process. This uncomfortable feeling is part of the process to getting comfortable because it's new. I haven't seen this before. I haven't experienced this before, right? But when you embrace the process, not when you embrace the struggle, when you embrace the process, you realize that every new challenge, every time we stumble, every stretch is shaping you into the person you're meant to be. The discomfort is a sign of progress, is a sign of change, is a sign of evolution. Myth number three, right? You're already at your limit, right? This one is sneaky because it feels real, right? I've hit my limit in this area. I can't grow anymore in this thing. There's no there's no way I can handle more. You're nowhere near your limit. Nowhere near it. Right? There's a saying that we only use 10% of our brain's potential, right? Now, whether or not that number is exact, that doesn't matter, right? What matters is most of us are only tapping into a small fraction of our true capacity. Right? Even if you're ahead of the curve, we'll say 12%, that means there's still 88% that's untapped. It's waiting to be unlocked. Think about it, at 88%, it's not a ceiling, right? It's an invitation. It's an invitation to expand, to grow. Expansion is about learning how to tap into the untapped potential. It's about stretching beyond what feels comfortable and realizing you're capable of so much more. And the only question is, are you willing to go there? That's the only question. Are you willing to go there? Last night, the Lions game, one of the players, I forget his first name, last name is Anzalone, um, plays on the defensive side of the ball. Earlier in the season, he broke his arm, broke his forearm, right? And he had to have it cut open, right? Plate put in, the screws put in, the whole nine. And this is, I think he's like 3 or 4 weeks post surgery. He played last night, and he took a picture earlier in the day of the stitches that are still in his arm. And he said, everybody wants to be a dog until you have to do dog shit. Excuse my language. Everybody wants to be a dog until you got to do dog shit. Everybody wants the spotlight. Everybody wants the space until you actually have to do it. So it's not about are you capable, it's are you willing to go there? Are you willing to go there? Are you willing to push yourself beyond the uncomfortable limits that we've placed on ourselves to experience a world that's completely unimaginable to most people? So now that we've called out the myths, right? Let's talk about the good stuff. How do we access the untapped 90% of our potential? Right? Starts with what we're doing today, shifting how we think. Right? The thoughts you think every day are either building bridges to the life that you desire or putting up roadblocks. Literally every thought that we have, right? And the best part of this is you have the power to choose. You have the power to choose. You have the power to choose how you think. You have the power to choose how you respond. You have the power to choose what you do when you realize that you just had a thought that put up a roadblock. Do you choose to remove it? We want to talk about three powerful shifts in thinking that can help us to unlock the untapped potential. Right? Shift number one is stop thinking, can I? And start thinking, how can I? Right? I want you to pay attention to how often you ask yourself, can I really do this? Can I do this? Right? It might seem like a harmless question, but it's loaded with doubt. Can I really pull this off? Can I handle this challenge? Can I really achieve that goal? Right? Those questions, they keep you stuck because you're focused on the limitations and you're training the reticular activation system to only see those limitations, not to see the opportunities, not to learn the lessons. So instead, I want you to replace can I with how can I? Right? The moment you ask yourself, how can I? You shift into possibility. You're training the reticular activation system for what's doable, what's attainable, what's possible, right? You're assuming it is and focus on how to make it happen, right? Examples is facing a big project at work or a personal goal that feels overwhelming. And instead of spiraling into, can I do this? Try asking yourself, how can I make this work? How can I figure this out? What's my next best step? Right? That one shift will take your energy out of fear and into action. Action is where the growth happens, right? Action is where the growth happens, not the planning, not the taking the action is where you can learn everything and you can intellectually have it. But until you actually do it, your body doesn't know the difference. You won't truly be able to feel it. Shift number two, stop looking for one door. Stop looking for one door and start seeing many doors, right? Have you ever been so fixated on one opportunity that when it didn't work out, you felt crushed, right? It's like you put all your hopes on one door, and when it closes, you you thought that was the end. This this isn't meant for me. It's not just one door to success. Life is full of doors. So you got to look for the second door, or there's always the third door. You just have to be creative and find it. I told you guys about the Nike executive, right? that said there's always a third door. There is. So when the first door closes, the second door closes, let's find the third door, right? When one door closes, don't waste time banging on it, right? Hoping it'll magically open. Take a step back and look around, reassess, look for the lessons in the experience to find the second and third door. There's always another one. There's always another opportunity, right? Life is abundant. The trick, the trick is to stay open to the possibilities, even when things don't go as planned. They won't go as planned a lot. So plan for it. Understand, be aware that things may not go the way that I want them to. But that's okay. That's part of the process. Shift number 3. Stop thinking more work and start thinking what works. Stop thinking more work and start thinking what works. How have you ever bought into the idea that hard work alone is the key to success? Don't get me wrong, hard work is essential. You definitely got to put in the work. But if hard work was all it took, the hardest workers in the world would be the most successful. We know that's not always the case. The real key is not just doing more work, but it's doing what works, doing the work that works, right? Focusing on what truly moves the needle. So ask yourself, what actions are producing the biggest results, right? What's wasting my time and energy? Not saying that, excuse me, not saying that the small incremental growth isn't key, but are you doing things that aren't moving the needle at all? Are there areas that you're legit just wasting time? How can you optimize the work that you're doing to ensure that you're actually making progress in the direction that you desire? Right? Think about it like this. If you're trying to fill a bucket with water and it has a giant hole in the bottom, no matter no matter the amount of pouring, it'll never get filled. Right? The smarter move is to fix the hole. That's what shifting to what works is about, right? Putting your energy where it will give you the impact. So let's recap. Replace can I with how can I? Step into possibility, right? Stop searching for one door and start opening the many doors that are around you. Again, as we expand our awareness, we become aware of new opportunities, new relationships, new people, new experiences that then bring us to the awareness of different doors. Don't just work harder, but focus on what truly works. Right? So now we've tackled how to think. I want to shift a little bit and talk about what to do. Right? Because growth doesn't just happen in your head, it shows up in your actions. So the steps you can take every day to determine how far you go is where we're going, right? So it's about changing the habits, right? Going to give you 3 habits that'll help take growth to another level. Habit number one, do what you could or should be doing, not just what you've always done. Do what you could or should be doing, not what you've always done. All right. We often stick to, again, the comfortable things because it's familiar. And you you know what I mean, right? Doing the same routines, taking the same safe actions, avoid the things that stretch you. You put those things that are hardest at the end of the to-do list instead of tackling the hard things first. The hard things, quote unquote. The uncomfortable things, we put those at the end of the to-do list. So we don't get to the end of the to-do list and we push them to tomorrow. Put them at the top of the to-do list. Growth never happens in the comfort zone. We know this. So if you want to expand, you've got to stop doing what's easy and start doing what you know you should be doing. Right? We've all got that voice inside that tells us what we should be doing, what we need to do. Maybe it's working out, maybe it's starting that project or having a hard conversation. Right? The problem is most people ignore that voice because doing what you should usually is that uncomfortable thing. So we ignore that intuition, that inner voice. We ignore it. What if, what if for a week straight, you took action on everything that internal message gave you? What if you took action on everything that internal voice gave you? That's how you train your intuition, right? Every time you get that message, you take action on it and you say, okay, did this move me toward where I'm going or did it not? And then you can say, oh, well, all right, this is where I'm going. When I feel this, that may not be accurate if it didn't move you in the direction. If you didn't learn a lesson, it's going to help you to take another step, right? And so now, as you're going through your day, you can train that intuition. Say, okay, let me take action on this now. See what doors open up, what conversations happen, what relationships start to build. The discomfort you feel when you do what you should is temporary. Because the growth you experience because of it, right? That's going to last. So I challenge you, right? This week, as you get those inner messages, take action on all of them. Take action on all of them and see what happens. Habit number two, do more than what's expected. The thing about successful people, they don't settle for the minimum, right? They don't stop at good enough. They go above and beyond. And not because someone's watching, but because they demand more of themselves than anybody else does. Right? So this is about holding yourself to a higher standard. Excellence isn't a result, it's a habit. It's a habit. When you consistently go the extra mile, you create momentum. You expand that capacity within you. That momentum builds confidence. It opens doors. It accelerates your growth. but you got to be willing to do more. Do more than is expected doesn't just set you apart, right? But again, it expands your capability. It expands your true capacity. And when you're constantly exceeding expectations, you start to exceed your own limits. Habit number 3, do important things every day, not just once in a while. Consistency is the secret weapon of growth. Big wins don't come from sporadic bursts of effort, right? They come from small, consistent actions taken daily. But what if you took big action daily? Think about planting a seed. You plant a seed one day and ignore it for a week, nothing's going to grow, right? But if you water it every day, even just a little effort, that seed will thrive, right? Your goals work the same way. If you take big action consistently, you'll get used to being uncomfortable, and that now becomes comfortable doing more, doing the important things, doing the hard things every day. You build that muscle, right? So prioritize the things that truly matter. It's easy to get caught up in busy work and tell yourself you're being productive. But ask yourself, are these things that I'm doing bringing me closer to my goals, or are they just spending time? If no's the answer, it's time to refocus on what's important. So recap, do what you should do, even when it's hard. Go above and beyond, not just for others, but for yourself. Be consistent in big action and show up every single day. When you start aligning your actions with these habits, fun things happen, incredible things happen. Your capacity grows. You stretch, you expand, and suddenly things that once felt impossible become part of your daily reality. So, the unexpected gift that comes with growth. There's a surprise built into this law of expansion that most people don't see coming, right? And it to me, it's the beautiful thing about all of it and really about the world in itself. The more you grow, the more you realize there's even more to explore. Growth isn't a straight path to a finish line, but it's a staircase that keeps unfolding as you climb. And every step you take, your perspective changes. You see new possibilities. You see new opportunities, new layers of yourself that you didn't even know were there. You know, me and my wife, we love to travel, right? And every time we dig into a new destination, it's like it's legit like opening a treasure chest, right? We find wild and unique places, hidden gems that nobody talks about. And the more we travel, the more we realize how much of the world we still haven't seen. That gives us so many more options, so many more opportunities, so many more experiences to have. And life works the same way. The more you dig into your growth, the more expansive your world becomes, right? It's like peeling back layers of the onion, and each layer reveals something new. I've said this multiple times, and I don't know if we've all caught it, but the more you stretch yourself, the more capable you become. The more capable you become, the more you want to stretch, right? But this idea of capacity, right? You that 90/20 that we talked about. We only have that we only use 10% of our brain and there's 90% more, right? But the more you expand, that 90% also expands. It's ever expansive. So you never get to that capacity because your growth always grows, and then your capacity for growth also continues to expand. That's how it never ends. That's the same thing in how the world works. As we continue to evolve as people, even look at technology, right? Look at the the advancements in AI. And the more that that expands, the more things become possible that we didn't think were possible. And the more possibilities then come from that. And then we have these possibilities that then create more possibilities. It's an ever expansive expansion, right? That's the same thing with our capacity as human beings, as spiritual beings having human experience. The more we learn, the more we evolve, the more we're capable of evolving. That's why it's so important to do more. Most people run from discomfort. They hit resistance and they think, this isn't for me. If it was for me, it'd be easy. Discomfort isn't a stop sign, man. It's a sign that you're on the verge of a breakthrough. It's part of the growth process, right? The trick is learning to become comfortable being uncomfortable. That then becomes your new normal, and it doesn't feel uncomfortable anymore. When you embrace growth, when you stretch beyond what you thought was possible, you unlock rewards that go far beyond what you could have imagined. You discover strengths that you didn't know you had. You achieve things that you once thought were completely outrageous and unimaginable. But most importantly, you become someone who is consistently evolving and consistently expanding. Growth isn't just about getting more out of life, it's about becoming more in life. And that's the ultimate reward. Becoming more so that you can give more, becoming more so that you can do more, becoming more so that you can help more. So next time you feel discomfort, don't run from it. Learn from it. Embrace it as the price of expansion. Every moment that we spend in discomfort is a moment you're stretching into bigger, bolder, a more enhanced version of yourself. The surprise of growth is that it never ends. It never ends. And that's what makes it so beautiful to me. The deeper you go, the richer your life becomes. And the question is, are you ready to step into that? So I'm gonna leave you with this. Growth isn't a goal. Growth isn't a goal. It's a way of life. You will never arrive. And that's the beautiful part about it. The law of expansion reminds us that life is an infinite journey of learning, becoming, and stretching. So my challenge for you this week is to embrace the stretch. The next time you feel like giving up or settling, just remind yourself, you've barely scratched the surface of your potential. So start asking, how can I? And watch how doors you didn't even see open. The world's waiting on you. The world's waiting on the expanded version of you. So this year we're focused on focused intensity. And we're going to step into that new version together. Your best self is just one stretch away. That's Mindset Monday, good people. Doors open. Thoughts, feedback, questions.
What up, though?
Yo, 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 what's the deal, Joy?
Slow motion. So when you was going through everything, I thought about each year that I've been in this group. The first year, I was searching for an answer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't join till like that November of that year. So it was late. And I remember the first time I came on the mic and I asked Benny like a 15 gun question. He said, I don't know. And the answer he gave me was, I don't know. That's up to you. And I'm like, Kobe Bryant, what does that mean? What are you talking about, Kobe Bryant? Which means it's up to me. And I was so frustrated. And so I listened. It was just reprogramming myself from the previous group that I was in to these learnings. Because, you know, it was multiple in structure. So it was really no definite foundation that I had. So to hear what you guys was explaining was like the Peanuts teacher. All I heard was wah 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 wah. And so I remember the second time I was about to quit. The first time I was about to quit, it was early on. Like, man, I don't know what I was doing with these candles, thinking I could do something with them. And I remember I reached out to y'all in email, and I remember what you spoke today, some of the things I hear repeatedly. And so I started thinking about, okay, so after I was about to quit the second time, I felt like I couldn't get it. And then I started adapting, and we got into the discussion about intentional habits. And I said, okay, I know what I need to do in intentional. And I created me a schedule that incorporated try to incorporate a balance within work and lifestyle. And then that's when during that time we learned how to do the trading plan. And I remember saying, you can give a person all the answers and they still gonna do it wrong. You could tell them the answer. What's the answer? A. Okay, and they choose B. They still gonna do what they want to do until you have that intention of wanting to do better and stop making bad habits, you know, better, trying to perfect things that's bad habits better. That's not actually going to work. Got to see through it. So fast forward to this year, I was, I don't have that anxiety on the charts as I do. I I think when Benny started doing the educational sessions instead of just going over the charts, because we go through the charts every day. And I find it beneficial when Benny does the educational sessions like he did Saturday, because it brings us back to the basics. Why we here, what we doing this for, and where we want to go. Well, as far as
Yeah.
with me, I mean, let me not say we. I don't know who all agree. Um, but you made my confidence better today because I don't be knowing what I be talking about. It be sounding good. I be trying to know what I'm talking about. Uh, but I just looked, before we got on, I put my analysis on for the trades that I was running, and for everybody in the group, that's a good analysis. Us, because we didn't even talk. None of us didn't even talk, and now we're in the space to where we're willing need to talk. Like I didn't even know who Beneath was until one day he finally started talking. We didn't talk, but now our confidence levels is getting there, and I see the growth in all of us. And I don't know if everybody's, had the same anxiety I have on these charts, but um I don't have that anxiety no more. And I can feel it. I can feel the progression getting better, even though I had a market where, these candles are easy and I'm gonna be here day one and I'm gonna be here. But I didn't know what I was doing, but now I do. And I think I think I know what I'm doing. But I'm in a better place to where I can Tetris my places together to win the level, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. No, Joy. Uh, I appreciate that breakdown. And I second Benny, right? Your analysis is awesome. Because it what's the quote? We overestimate what we can do in a day, but we underestimate what we can do in a decade.
Mm,
We underestimate what we can do in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but we overestimate what we're going to do tomorrow. Because we look at these short periods of time and we don't look at the process of growth. And so we don't know that, and we don't realize that if we stay the course, 3 years down the line, we could be there.
yeah,
We don't realize that. And we don't realize the compounding effect of growth, right? And that's what you just described. That's what you just described.
I feel like that dude Benny was telling us about that took him what 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
10 years to get profitable. I think that
Mm-hmm.
that weighs
Mark
on me.
Maravini.
That weighs on me because it's like I remember also your lessons about perfection. I don't, some of us my age, I'm 46. You know, I know a lot of people in our age, they raised us on perfection, you know, and I did not know, I didn't realize that until, you know, that second time I was going to quit that, there was no such thing as I knew there was no such thing as perfection, that you couldn't be correct on everything, but I thought that um I can't even
You thought
describe
you
it.
could be perfect.
I thought I could be perfect. Yeah, yeah.
You thought you could be perfect.
But thank y'all for y'all time and energy. I'm always gonna say that.
Oh, we appreciate you big time, Joy. We appreciate you big time. 100%. Thank you. Anybody else? Thoughts, feedback, questions? No?
All I know is I'm looking forward to a great year.
My man. 100%, dude. 100%. Definitely looking forward to a year bigger than we thought would be here.
Morning, Ryan.
Absolutely. Ms. Donette, what's happening?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I think for me, what stood out today was, in growing is taking the action. I think most of us do a lot of planning. I know I've planned this, I've planned that. But I think a lot of where my growth has been from me recognizing is definitely taking the action. And doing, like you said, the things that are necessary. Are you wasting your time here? Are you wasting your time there?
Yeah.
I think the awareness of, where you're putting your time in is important. But for me, it's definitely taking the action. So thank you for today.
Facts. That's facts. Appreciate you. It's true. The action is where it actually comes together. Appreciate that. Anybody else before we wrap it up? No? Good people. Listen, man. Donette said it. It's about the action. It's about the action. So let's take today. Stay small enough, long enough. You'll be big enough soon enough. I love it, Tyrone. Small, consistent actions over time get you the big results. Make today another foundational building block in the life that you desire. That's Mindset Monday. We're back at it tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the pre-New York session. You guys have a phenomenal, phenomenal Monday. We'll see you in the morning. Peace.
Yes, man. Have a good time, man. Have a nice weekend.